In this video, I recap the three classical sociological theories, conflict theory, functionalism, and symbolic interactionism, that are typically studied in an Intro to Sociology course. And I compare and contrast them with two more modern theories, Social Constructionism and Postmodernism, which I did not get to cover in the last lecture. Let's take a look at conflict theory first. For conflict theory, we have the ruling class using and controlling the working and poor classes through the means of production, power, and money to effectively amass more power, wealth, and money. To successfully get millions of people to participate in such an unfair system, the ruling class must create and maintain a class consciousness and/or false consciousness for the workers so that they believe in values that don't actually benefit or advance them, but that do benefit and advance the ruling class and perpetuate the system that keeps the elite in power, wealthy, and in control. Hence, religion and capitalism are closely intertwined ideologies that help keep the working class working, the poor, and justify unequal and inequitable social structures and treatment of individuals and groups, while a small portion of the population, the ruling class and the elite, amass resources and wealth around the world. Therefore, all laws, policies, businesses, norms, values, and sanctions, and related ideological structures are seen as designed by the ruling class to maintain their power and control over the middle, poor, and working classes. From feminism to critical race theory, this theory has successfully made millions skeptics of the current economic systems and social structures we live in. But wait, this is just one dimension of social life, right? Surely it can't all be an unequal balance of power and money, and people constantly manipulating us for our work and money so that they can chill on their yachts in the Greek Isles or Sicily. Also, note that this is a macro level theory. So if you're using this in your research, what you measure has to be at the macro or group level. Conflict between individuals, families, and small groups. This is a large-scale struggle or conflict between the classes for power, control, and wealth. Now that we've viewed social life from one perspective, let's compare it to a more functional view of our existing social structures. Functionalism sees societies and their institutions of family, law, politics, education, work, etc. as interdependent social structures that function together for a greater good and stability, much like organs in the human body. Versus conflict theory, who sees the institutions and structures as merely exploitative and corrupt tools created and reproduced by the ruling class to dupe the masses into working and stressing for nothing, while the elite kick back in their mansions and yachts. According to functionalism, all of these social institutions have evolved and worked together to provide and maintain various positive functions, such as maintaining social order, cohesion, and solidarity, socializing children, creating value consensus, social integration, preventing the breakdown of norms and values through sanctions, and so on. Thus, society is able to organize around larger purposes and cooperate in larger numbers than ever before. In other words, these social structures are the glue that hold our large-scale cooperation together, and they slowly evolve and adapt according to the changes and needs of society. But the question remains, how do individuals make sense of these complex social structures, hierarchies, and related ideologies and belief systems in everyday life? What does it mean to be a citizen of the US or another country? A mom, a student, or a teacher? What does it mean to be successful? Here we turn to the meanings we assign to symbols, or should I say the meanings that were attached to symbols, language, and other social objects before we were even born into the system that dictate and influence our behavior through predefined social scripts and expectations. But let's focus just on the individual psychology before we connect all these theories together. Symbolic interactionism examines how the self and identity are created individually through reflection and interpretation of meanings, symbols, and social roles, labels, identities, and how associated expectations, which we call definitions of the situation, are created through interaction with others. In other words, our realities and identities are created through interaction with others as we grow up and assign meanings to various symbols and social objects, and as we collectively agree on those meanings, which help to define appropriate roles and behavior for particular places and times. But the sum of the whole is greater than its parts, right? And it's not just us individually and in small groups creating these meanings or the symbols. Some were created millennia before we were even born. And what about collective social processes? Surely our socialization and cognitive and social development don't occur only in our minds and within our daily interactions with peers and family members. But before we tie all these together and ask some hard questions, let's move on to some more modern theories of social life. Then we'll tie all of these theories together at the end of this video. To recap, conflict theory highlights the power struggles and inequalities in society. Structural functionalism emphasizes the harmonious cooperation and stability in society. And symbolic interactionism focuses on the subjective meanings and interpretations that individuals attach to their experiences and the social world. Now, let's discuss two more modern theories. Have you ever heard of the term social construct? A social construct is an idea or an imaginary order that has been created and accepted by the people in society through interaction over time and space. As you will learn about this semester, examples of social constructs include race, gender, nationality, childhood, madness, age, intelligence, and beauty, just to name a few. But we'll talk more about that as the class develops. First, we must ask, what is reality and/or knowledge? Is there an objective, social, and moral reality, or is all understanding a product of human thought, language, and interaction? And how does our place in time and history and culture influence and shape our perception of truth, reality, and morality? Furthermore, how do the rules of language, social institutions, and social structures like politics, media, and science influence our understanding of what reality is and the creation and production of knowledge across time and space? These are all important questions that social constructionism asks, and are especially relevant in modern societies when multiple cultures, political and social structures are connected through social media, technology, and global communication and movement around the world. In other words, social constructionism sees reality and knowledge, and yes, even science, as merely social constructs or imaginary orders that we create through collective thought, interaction, and imagination, and all of these realities are influenced and shaped by our current language structure, political, cultural, and historical contexts, and through social interaction. Reality and knowledge are not real in an objective sense, but they are not a lie. We'll come back to that later in the course. According to social constructionism, what I'm saying right now about this theory, and even how I've constructed the knowledge and information to present it to you from my own training and various resources, is just one version of reality to present to you shaped by our language and environment, and even knowledge from science is socially constructed through interaction and shaped by social institutions and forces of a particular time and space. Include social media, globalization, and human connection and movement around the world, and things get plural really fast. But we'll discuss that in the next theory. Ultimately, social constructionism and the next theory, postmodernism, see all social structures that exist as imaginary orders that only exist in our collective imaginations that change across time and space, but that allow us to cooperate in large numbers around different myths, rituals, gods, legends, and so on. Speaking of reality and truth, how does our modern world work with all of these different realities and meta-narratives floating around from politicians, businesses, and science vying for your attention, votes, money, and complacence in an ever-changing and technologically driven social structure? Well, postmodernism goes beyond just considering that social structures are all imaginary to looking at how, with global connection and human movement, reality and truth become fragmented. Culture, norms, values, and other beliefs, imaginary orders, allow us to get online and find an identity with any group, cause, or ideology. The earth can be flat, the earth can be round, addiction can be a personal choice, or it can be a disease. There is supersymmetry in the universe, or it's all just random chaos. Pick your flavor. As society changes, as we all become more connected, and as we modify our imagined orders to accompany these changes, we create multiple versions of reality and truth. To summarize, the last two theories, social constructionism and postmodernism, both challenge traditional views of knowledge and reality, but they do so in different ways. Social constructionism focuses on the social and cultural processes that shape knowledge and reality, while postmodernism is more critical of the idea of objective truth and the power dynamics that shape knowledge and reality. Important to notice at the bottom of each of these slides is time and space. Considering the changes of social structure and movement of human beings, cultural and technological and ideological changes across time and space, you can see that each of these theories has been influenced by the time and space from which social life was viewed and from which they were created. Some are more valid in certain times, spaces, and context, and some explain very narrow dimensions of reality. But it's clear that each of these explains a different vantage point of our social fabric from a different perspective. And remember, a very important part of all of this is an intellectual exercise learning how to think about your life and the broader social and historical context you live in and that others have lived in from multiple points of view, so we can become better citizens, students, workers, and community members. But remember, ultimately, it takes a multi- or interdisciplinary systems perspective or approach to truly model or explain the multiple levels and complexities of social life across time and space. Just how many societies thought Earth was the center of the universe in the past, the construction of knowledge and deeper understanding of the world and its realities around us will also change over time. We will continue to uncover different levels of reality to help understand, explain, and make better societies, and also to hopefully avoid some of the pitfalls we tend to create when we make large technical advancements or innovations.